Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Paranormal, the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy, trying to make this world a little more normal. Does it ever happen? We have our hopes up for a long time now, but it never happens. It never happens, and we're okay with that as well, because I wouldn't be having a show if it was that way. So, it works. But as always, I am joined by a guest on this perilous journey of mine. And my guest this week is Mary Beth Schrudder, a spiritual life coach, and so much more. But we'll get into all that in a bit. First things first, how you doing this morning, Mary?
I am doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. I spiritual life coaches are one of my things. I talk to a lot of them, and they're always a good conversation. So as soon as I saw your profile, I'm like, oh, I got to get her on. Of course, it's always a good conversation with life coaches in general. Honestly, it's always a good conversation. So much to teach. But first thing I'll ask you, because it's the first thing I ask everybody. What brought you down the path of spirituality in a way?
I feel like I was born that way. I don't remember not being a spiritual seeker. I've had paranormal experiences from as early as I could remember in life. So I'm actually 50 now. And so back in the 70s, we definitely weren't talking about it.
Mhm.
My family wasn't into it. I was raised Catholic, and it was kind of um I'm a recovering Catholic, I like to say. But yeah, I was raised Catholic, and we weren't allowed to ask a lot of questions. And so it kind of gets stuffed down. But I was that kid who always was very sensitive, very aware of my own energy and energies around me as well. Growing up later in life, in my 30s, I think is the first time I heard the term empath. So I realized a lot of this generalized anxiety that I was having was actually not my own feelings. I was feeling other people's feelings. I could sense too when something was in my, like a spirit would be in my room, and I could sense it, but I would just pray, please don't let me see it. Please don't let me see it. And I have seen stuff, but luckily it's been more orbs of light and things like that. And I thank
Ooh.
the universe, thank you, source energy, for only showing me things in that form, because I don't want to see a full out person standing at the end of my bed. I would have a heart attack, and God knows that. So thank you.
Yeah, and first things first, Harley, thank you for watching. Good morning. And I agree, Harley. Not a day over 35. That's just pure. It's
Oh,
lies. It's
thank
lies.
you.
I was gonna say something about it anyway, but I'm like, when you said 50, I was like, no, can't
Well, I
be.
believe in a mind-body connection. I know that's a thing. And when I was 45, I decided to quit drinking alcohol, which we might talk about later. But I told myself, if you quit drinking alcohol, you were going to age in reverse. And I know I read a book when I was younger by Deepak Chopra called Ageless Body, Timeless Mind. And I was really way too young for it when I read it, but now I get it. Like, it's all about that mind body connection. And now, we can only do this as far as our personal belief system allows it, and I think I believe I can do that. I believe I have some control, but yeah, I don't think I can actually stop the aging process altogether. I would have to do a lot of work to get to that point. I'd have to become a master.
Good old Deepak Chopra. I've had a couple students of his on my show before. It's
Nice.
people actually worked with him, and every he is. I have to read his books because everybody has told me you need to read his books. So I'm like, I don't have time to read, but I got it. They're on my list because I the last guest I had who was one of his students was she couldn't speak more highly of him. He was such a brilliant person, and he taught so many people so many great things. So I
Wow.
gotta dig into that a little more. And but I we okay, we gotta talk about the orbs. We gotta talk about the orbs. I love ghost lights. So when you say you saw orbs, what I mean, I know it's kind of stupid a question, but kind
No.
of how would you describe the orbs? 'Cause I mean, yeah, they're orbs, but everybody sees them a little bit differently.
So I've seen them differently too. It depends what we're looking at. When I see the angels, they are just these beautiful colors, different colors of orbs, beautiful, and they kind of dance around. And I usually see them in a corner. And the first time I saw them was It's funny because I was actually at a hair salon, but the lady who did my hair, she was going through a lot of stuff, like physically, like it turned out to be Lyme disease, like autoimmune,
Oh,
and yeah, which is really bad. And she was like constantly having something going on, and she was really worried. She didn't even know at the time. She just knew she's like being hospitalized, and she's got young kids. And so she had said a prayer that morning, something to the effect of, she wanted angels. She didn't want to see angels, but she wanted to know that she was safe. And I say
interesting.
that prayer every morning. I talk to angels. So I kind of think that's what happened between the two of us, both saying that prayer. And so this was the first time I saw them. And I'm sitting in the chair and I'm looking up and I'm like, what are those lights? It kind of reminded me of when someone takes a picture of you with the flash, and this just for a while, that's all you
Yeah.
see. But they were different colors. They're dancing around, really beautiful, 0% scary. And I didn't know they were angels. I just was like, "What is that?" And it was driving me crazy because no one else could see him. I'm like, "You don't see them?" And she's like, "No." We call over some other hairstylist. Nobody could see him but me. And I'm like, "Okay, what is that?" Well, I have like I said, my whole life's been paranormal. I have so many friends who are psychics, so many connections. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and maybe 1,000 psychics in my life, like honestly, because it's almost like an addiction, but I love it so much. I love the different modalities they use. My curiosity is insatiable, and there's a lot of fake ones out there, but like I'm able to discern these days, like fake from real. So one of my friends, I who she had a trauma, and ever since that trauma, she was able to clearly see and speak to angels and like clear conversations like you and I are having. So I called her when I got home because she's also psychic. And I was like, what was that? And she told me, oh, those were Faith's angels. Faith was my hairstylist. Those were her angels. And their message was, you are safe. What? So
Hmm.
I got her message for her because she prayed for it, but she didn't want to see them. But she probably would have been fine with it had she known it was not scary. Um, but anyway, so that's what the angels look like. And then when I lived in the haunted house, which is a whole story, this was back in 2008. So it's like, what's that, like 16 years ago, I think. My son was only my son was
Yeah,
five.
about that.
Yeah, my son was five, and he's 21 now. So he remembers a little bit of it, but not too terribly much. I'm kind of glad about that, if I'm going to be honest. But when I lived there, at first I didn't see the orbs. It was very active, very active. All of the psychics and mediums, I had everyone come over. We were trying to figure out what was going on. They all said an energy vortex. The house was built on an energy vortex, but it didn't wake up until we moved in because apparently my son's a portal. I'm very open my whole life, so that attracts entities of all kinds.
Yeah.
When they know they want your attention. They really do. And so when we were there, like at first, and I'll tell you how it all started, but just to answer your question about the orbs, um, we would take pictures and there would always be orbs everywhere with faces in them. They had freaking faces. It was pretty freaky. I'm not gonna.
Oh, I love that.
And if we took pictures of the ceiling, they were all, now I know what they were. So actually I'd seen the angel orbs, but not with my naked eye because there were layers and layers of those colored orbs. Now I know they were angelic protection, but I didn't know it at the time, but that was told to me later. And I should have put two and two together when I saw those orbs with my own eyes, but I didn't. Because that was a long time ago when this happened. And so my son was able to actually command the orbs. Like, so he would say, I want to see 13 orbs. Take a picture. Not, I did that. It's a cell phone. We were using cell phones.
Yeah, of course.
So he would take a picture. We did have cell phones back then. And there would be exactly 13. And then he would say, okay, now I want to see five. Whatever number he said, they would form that way. It was very interesting. They didn't do that for me, but he could command these entities to
Well,
do whatever that he asked, and it was
they
very cool.
they do. I mean, it is a well-known fact that kids have a closer connection to the other
Yeah,
side because they're so newly born from it, and it's. I mean, interesting. I mean, being able to control them is kind of cool, and I I gotta love that the woman who actually angels were there for his name Faith. There's ironicness in that, and I love it.
Right.
I love that. I love
I
that.
never
But
thought of that.
and I mean, yeah, I've talked to many people before who actually communicate with angels, and see, that's the part of the paranormal I have a hard time kind of clicking with because it's like, oh, spirits, yeah, I could see anybody talking to spirits. That's not a problem. Angels, I'm like, that kind of makes me go back to my hate on religion. But I'm like, I always try to separate them out from the religion box because then I can see it more if they're just entities. If they're
Absolutely,
just,
and don't throw the baby away with the bathwater situation because, like, even Catholicism, like I see, I have angel wings back here. Those are everyone thinks it's a butterfly. Those are angel wings. But yeah, there's definitely things in religion that are true. It's just been what distorted and misinterpreted
oh
and twisted
God,
and
yeah.
perverted, but that doesn't mean some of it's not true. And they got the angel part right for sure. I talk to angels.
I've actually had a couple, well, Atlantis experts on the show, and we dove into 35, 40 minutes of just everything that religion got wrong. And it's an interesting conversation always because it's been so distorted throughout history by so many different people, by so many different groups. It's just it drives me insane. It really does because imagine if we actually had the original texts from all these different religions that weren't edited and what we would actually learn if we had them.
Right. I was
It's
gonna say,
just
did they get it wrong or was it intentionally removed and hidden?
oh,
Yeah. It
I
gets
I believe
happening.
I believe you could stick your hand in both of those pots and come up with something because
Yeah.
it's a lot of the earlier ancient people probably got something a bit wrong. Like even I was gonna say even those angel wings you have behind you, shouldn't there be four more of them? But because I mean, angels, I've been told angels have six wings. I've been told that whole idea we have of an angel in the white cloak with two wings was kind of man-made. Angels are not exactly, usually at least, the beautiful creatures we want them to be. Usually we think that usually they are more a little scary looking would be the way to put it. But
Hmm.
from what I've been told. But I mean, of course, you don't have to be scared of them. It's just the way they look. And I've been told once you get used to that, once you get used to it, it's not scary anymore. But the first time that people have seen them, they usually do a little jump back, and when they see them in full form. But
I think they
I don't
can
know.
morph themselves. I think they can show up in different ways for different people, and change their appearance as well. Because um, I have friends who see angels on a regular basis. Like my friend Jen was one of them who told me that that was her angels, and they for her they show up as light beings, just
Yeah,
really tall, like 7 feet maybe.
that's one detail that has never changed. They've always been very tall creatures, and it's. I mean, they would be. Why wouldn't they be if they were supposed to be these high, majestic creatures? Why wouldn't they be huge? But
Yeah.
that. Let me ask this though before I dive into what I think. Where do you think angels actually come from? Like, where do you think? What do you, or and I guess part of that question is, what do you think they actually are? Because I mean, obviously, well, not obviously, but I personally don't believe it's. I don't believe in a heaven per se, like the
No.
way that the religion describes it. But I think it's more of a dimensional thing. But
Yeah.
let me hear what you think before I dive into my.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think I call God source energy, and I think source energy created them as like they were helpers. So like we can ask for help, they show up. Like I've had a lot of angelic intervention in my life, and um so I think they're created to give us help. And I don't like I'm like you. I'm not a heaven hell person. There's different spiritual planes, right? And when we like some people I think so well, I've been really into near death experiences since I was 18. That's actually when I had reading a book on near death experiences when I was 18 was what triggered a spiritually transformative experience for me. Like I was suddenly in, now remember, this was probably 1992. No, there was nobody talking about 5D or anything. So I didn't know what happened, but I think in retrospect, I was in 5D for about 2 weeks and I was experiencing just everything was the connected, and it was this blissful love experience. And I would think of a question and get the answer. I was very connected to source energy or connected to some sort of universal knowledge. Yeah,
Yes.
I could think of, I understood quantum physics and all these things that like I wasn't able to keep, by the way. Like I I feel like it's in my subconscious somewhere. So I think it's in all of ours. Um, but yeah, I was able to understand things that I don't even understand today. Like it was just very clearly, and just how that oneness, how we're all connected. It was just so blissful and beautiful. And I'm talking to people about it, and I look like a crazy person because when you're in 5D or whatever, I was at the very top of that vibrational scale and joy and bliss and love, unconditional love. I knew, I was told there was no hell then. So I've known that, for a long time, which is very freeing, right? It liberates you.
It
Um,
does, yeah.
and yeah, and that everything is just like we are here to learn and evolve and grow, and that's why we're here. And that experience, I'm talking to people, nobody understood what I was saying. I looked like I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? And there wasn't an internet, so I couldn't find a tribe. It turns out this is a common experience, and a lot of people do a lot of meditation. They do a lot of things to try to get to this point, even for 5 minutes. And here I am, just didn't even know it was a thing, like nirvana, or I don't know if I'd call it enlightenment. I call it more like being, I don't know what you call it, like the spiritually
It's
transformative experience is what they call them now, STEs. And so there's a label for it these days. So it happens. But yeah, the 2 week thing I think is pretty unique. I was on this crazy high vibration. You manifest fire, when you're in that vibration. And I do get glimpses of it. Like I do feel like I experience a lot of 5D reality because of my personal belief system today. But that was different. It was pure 2 weeks of straight. And then the world kind of started bringing me down. And I think part of why that triggered with that book is because my soul remembered, yes, this is how it really is. This is the truth. Does that make sense? And I've been told a bunch of lies, so I was just really excited that reading this book, like this is how it really is. And I didn't integrate this experience very well because I didn't have any guidance. Like I needed somebody who knew, like what I know these days. I needed
ex
guidance.
exactly. I mean, to go through these experiences without really having someone who's been there before, I mean, it's the same as anything, really. I mean, it's the same as starting a new job and not having someone to, like, they just walk you in your office and say, "Okay, now do your job." It's the same as like that, like, and not having someone there to guide you for the first couple weeks about what you're supposed to be doing even, which I've had jobs like that where they literally put you in an office and they're like, "Okay, now do your job." What is my job again? Like, it's
Sitting there like,
yeah, like, I'm gonna sit here and wait for something to happen, I guess. It's just people need guidance. People need mentorship. They need mentorship of what they're supposed to do with these type of things, and if you don't have it, it can be a scary experience to some degree because it's a common theme in the show, and I freaking love it. But breaking free from religion's bonds and kind of experiencing what it actually is out there. Because I was gonna say I call it universal power as well. I don't or just the universe in general. I don't the big G. I don't believe in the big G at all. I can't. I just especially. I mean, I can't picture an old bearded white man as the big G.
no.
It's such a ancient archetype that it just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's
It's
an
just
energy, and we're all connected, and we're all a fractal of this energy, right? So we all have this connection, but what we do is we cut ourselves off from it, like through distractions, through addictions, through, just being in this 3D reality. And we are meant to have amnesia when we come into this incarnation, because if we remembered who we really are, then I mean, the whole point of this experience is to forget who we really are and kind of go through it and
which
reawaken again. You know what I mean? Like that's the fun of it, because source energy already knows.
it's funny because the way when people ask me all the time, like I've been asked on other shows I've been on as a paranormal podcaster, do you like what do you think God is if there is a God? I'm like, well, don't call it God, but there is a cluster of stars is what I like to think of it as a cluster of stars or atoms somewhere deep in the void of space. And I mean, I think Futurama actually got it perfect, close to perfect. It's just a cloud in space somewhere that's sentient and has the ability to shift the universe to be the way it wants to be. Can it? And the greatest line ever is if if is when God says to Bender, okay, when Benner says to God, but you didn't do anything at all, and he says, didn't I though? Like, because the freaking collective that's out there doesn't really do anything. They may give you ideas, so you do things. They don't do anything. They're not. It's not a big hand coming out of the sky, moving people around where they want them to be. Like they'll put ideas in your head, or they'll send one of their entities down to persuade you. I mean, it's. But let me ask you this, because it's the way you're describing it. I was getting pure Matrix simulation theory vibes out of it, because it's like unplugging yourself from the Matrix. Which, what do you think about the idea of a simulation theory? Like it's kind of a conspiracy theory in this day
Yeah,
and age, but
I think it's more of an 3D reality, this time, space, physical reality we're in. It's it is an illusion. But it's I believe personally, I know what you're talking about. This it could be as seen as that way, but I think that it's kind of just our way of here, my cat's here. My co-host shows up sometimes. He loves it when I get on podcasts. But yeah, I do believe it's an illusion that it's created, but for a purpose. So we come here with limited abilities, limited, like our Earth is the most limited planet that I believe there is.
yeah,
So we come here to have that experience. Like, we volunteer to be here, and we have to have that illusion, because once we are awake to it, it's not as much of a game. So we're literally volunteering to have tons of limitations in this physical 3D reality, and because it helps our souls grow and evolve. And I think that's like the whole purpose is evolution. And ascension to me is just when you become aware that we are evolving. You become aware that we're on this path, and we go from base consciousness to collective consciousness to unity consciousness, to realize we are all connected and we're not getting away with anything. When we do something wrong to someone, that will come back to us. Everything's energy, right? I remember being in like 8th grade physical science class going, oh, you know energy's never created or destroyed. That makes sense. That's why I'm able to, that's why there's ghosts. That's why there's all these things, is because everything still exists. It just exists in a different form. This is really scientific. And a lot of people think like law of attraction and things are woo woo. It's not, it's science. It's quantum physics, because everything is energy. Everything vibrates. So that's how we attract and repel things. We're all, there's so many law of attraction myths and misconceptions that people think it doesn't work, or what. Well, it works. The law of attraction doesn't work because they haven't been able to get it to work. Well, they don't understand. It only works within your personal belief system. So if
yep,
you have limiting beliefs, that's one of the things I do with my one-on-one coaching, is help people get rid of their limiting beliefs, and they're subconscious. So by definition, we're not aware of them. So like,
exactly.
you have to get through that. You got to do the work, what we call it, the work, to figure out those patterns and belief systems. And then you will start attracting. Like, I had to go through it myself. There's no spiritual awakening without a healing journey. You're not going to be able to get there until you go through this healing journey.
It's exactly. I mean, you can't just. It's not a light switch. You can't just turn it on and off. Like it's not the way you're. It's not the way our spiritual side works. We can't just turn it on and off. Trust me, I've tried. It doesn't work that way, folks. But I wish it was that easy. I really do, because I can't meditate. I don't have the time to really focus on it the way I'd like to. Maybe someday when the kids are grown, maybe I'll get a little more into it. But I
Tried
say
breath
as
work,
one.
because I've got what I call the monkey mind, and breath work or guided meditations work, like listening to, because then it gets me out of my head more. Or if I just focus on my breathing, and I count while I'm going, okay, breathe in, count of 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, box breathing or something like that. And it just kind of helps get me out of my head more. And I think a lot of people listening probably have that same, experience, where quieting the mind, you know, unless you're a master, it's not going to be perfectly quiet. Expect these interruptions of thoughts to come through, and just realize you're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings even. You're supposed to witness them, observe them. And, I always say to myself, when random crazy stuff pops up when I'm trying to meditate, like, isn't that interesting? Like, That's interesting. Just kind of and then blow it off and let it drift by and just expect that to happen and don't be mad at yourself when it happens. And sometimes we could be manifesting like I mean, not manifest meditating for 15 minutes and only get one actual good minute in, and that's okay. And it's okay to do that.
See, that actually makes me feel a little better about it because that's usually what I get is about 1 good minute, and then
Mhm.
I mean, I just recently have been told slash found out that I might be ADHD. So
Oh, I am too. I love
I,
my ADHD.
I never thought I was. My whole life, I always said, "Oh, thank God, I'm not like that." But finally, some podcasters are like, "You totally have ADHD." They're like, "You jump from topic to topic like no one ever met in my life." Like, I'm like, really? I just don't think I have it in a. I don't have the physical side of it. I don't have like I can focus on a TV show without an issue for hours and
Mhm.
not get disturbed. So I think it's just selective ADHD to put in a
Yeah,
certain
well,
way.
me
But
too. It's different in everybody. It manifests differently in everybody, but I got to the point where I just like I've been diagnosed with I'm not on any medication, but here's a list of shit that I've been diagnosed with. Um OCD, ADHD, depression, anxiety, and what it really was is just like I needed this spiritual stuff. I needed this um especially like when I was offered antidepressants, I was going through a divorce. Here's the deal. We're supposed to be sad. We're supposed to be a little bit depressed when you shouldn't be taking medication. We're supposed to feel our feelings. Even though I'm a law of attraction coach, the it's one of the things that I do in an addiction recovery coach. It's so important to know that I'm not like positive vibes only, good vibes only. That's actually very toxic. We need to feel our feelings. Our emotions are indicators. So we need to notice like, why am I feeling this way? And by the way, it's okay to be sad when something sad happens. I mean, why numbing yourself away from that, all we're doing is pushing those feelings down into our body. They're not going anywhere. Where it creates more subconscious bullshit,
it
and
does, yeah.
it causes triggers. So when you don't deal with those feelings and you shove them down through alcohol or food or shopping is even addiction for a lot of people. Like, oh, I'm going to fill this void, or just numb yourself and not feel it. Addictions are a way of escaping, and or filling a void. And a lot of people who are sensitive like me, we really fall into addiction easily. I definitely have an addictive personality. And that's why I teach addiction recovery too, is because I got out of all my addictions. I haven't had any alcohol for over 5 years now. And I was drinking alcohol every day for 30 years, like, except when I was pregnant. But other than that, I was like, but it wasn't like it was frowned upon in society. It's very normalized. It's glamorized even, and you're not cool if you don't do it. And I didn't think I was doing anything wrong having red wine. And red wine was my thing. I wasn't like, sitting under a bridge with a bottle in a brown paper bag. It wasn't like that. But that's what I'm
No.
saying is I didn't even realize I was addicted until I 2 years into life coaching when I was like, oh, I'm going to get an addiction recovery niche. I'm going to help people with addiction. And I'm learning about it. And I'm like, oh man, that's too familiar. This is me. Like that's how I am with like alcohol. That's how I am with food. I was definitely a person who isn't great with moderation, to put it like putting I just definitely don't have that dial that some people have where like if even if it's cookies, like, oh, that was a good cookie, I want more. Like I want the whole sleeve of cookies. I don't want just one cookie.
See,
That's just how I am.
it's funny because I had a lot of the same issues. Um, I I physically changed my body so I couldn't have those issues anymore for food at least. I mean, gastric bypass surgery kind of makes you have to have moderation, otherwise you're gonna be in a
Of
lot of
course.
pain.
Yeah.
So I kind of forced myself to have moderation because with food, I always was a food addict. I never had moderation, and it wasn't even. I wouldn't say I was eating my feelings. That was never the case. I just I was a
Sometimes we're just foodies too.
yeah,
Sometimes we're
exactly. I That's the thing. I loved going out to different restaurants and trying different restaurants. I love trying any kind of food. I've eaten some of the weirdest freaking foods you'll ever think of in this world, just because if I see something new in a store, I have to try it. Because I'm like, that sounds interesting. I gotta see what this is like. And
Mhm.
it's led to some great discoveries. I'm not gonna lie, but I had to force myself to get surgery to stop myself from doing that because now I still am a foodie, but I can only eat a quarter of what I used to. So if that even, probably even less. I mean, I used, God, I used the whole sleeve of cookies. I used to get the freaking Oreo party packs and fidget in one freaking like sitting. Like it's just the way it was.
Oreos are amazing, right? I was a sugar addict too, and so for anyone watching, you don't have to get a surgery, but you do need to recognize you're either an abstainer or a moderator. And like for me, I had to come to this, you know, I was going to say come to Jesus moment where I'm either, I had more of a switch than a dial, right? So I'm
Yep.
all in or all out. And I had to be an abstainer because once I get started, I didn't have that much self-control after I got started, whether it's alcohol, shopping, um, food, whatever it is. And this is a lot of people, by the way. Only 25% of people can like just have a reasonable amount of things and just be. Most of us go overboard a little, but then some of us are more bingy, like me. And so, like, I had to just admit to myself I have to abstain because I can sometimes moderate. Like, let's say it was red wine. Okay, yeah, one or two glasses, but I'm always going to fuck up eventually. Like, it's always going to get back to, okay, now I overdid it and I have a hangover and I have an early client, an early thing to record or whatever, and I fucked up. And then it's the blame, shame, guilt, cycle. This is horrible, and just awful. Just that downward
It
spiral of shame that you have when you don't keep promises to yourself.
see that's I think that's kind of the curse slash blessing I was born with. I never get hangovers. It's just a thing. I can't get
No.
hangovers. I've had one in my freaking life, and that was only because it was absinthe, and that's a whole nother game. But especially the real stuff. Oh my God, that was horrible. But that was a bad choice that
What's the
night.
real stuff? What's the real stuff?
From it's from I want to say the Netherlands. Like this, it's the Green Fairy, the stuff they actually like, the stuff they drink in Moulin Rouge. Like that's the
Oh,
real absinthe, not the American made bullshit version.
oh,
But
okay.
it, yeah, it's strong. It's strong, and it was a bad New Year's Eve. But other
I've
than
had a
that,
lot of those. New Year's
uh,
Days. New Year's Days were usually bad.
but see, that was always the thing with me. When it came to alcohol with me, it was always I enjoyed the shit out of it. I like it, but I could always stop. I wouldn't need to finish the whole 12 pack in one night. I wouldn't need to finish the whole bottle of whiskey in one night. I could have a couple glasses and then say, okay, that's enough. I could put down the bottle. I could put down the cup now. I'm good. I don't need to pour another one. It's just that was always my thing. I mean, having the gastric bypass surgery though made me cut back even more though, because it's like it, when I first got it and I went back to it, I'm like, you don't realize how fast it takes effect on you. You don't realize how fast it's hitting you until you're at the point where you're like, whoa, I should have stopped a few cans ago. But
Well,
it's
and
just the
I
way it
loved
goes.
it. It was great, right? But is it you get to a point where for me, if anyone listening has that like it was affecting my sleep. It was starting to affect too many things. And then it's like, it was fun. Well, yeah, like 3 hours of fun or whatever, but it would ruin my whole next day, and because they would ruin my sleep. And what happens, the science behind it is, alcohol is a depressant. Most people know that. But what they
Yep.
don't know is that our body actually creates stimulants, which is what it's supposed to do to counteract the depressant. So if anyone's experiencing what I started to experience, and honestly, it didn't affect me too badly until my 40s.
Mm,
It's when our hormones start to change and things like that. And I think a lot of the effect is cumulative. So you're getting all of these stimulants, and your body creates to counteract the depressant, and then that about 4 hours after your last drink is when the depressant wears off and all you're left with is the stimulant. So it's like I would wake up at 3 a.m. like with my heart racing, anxiety, and that never used to happen to me. So maybe this is planting a seed for some people and I didn't make the connection with alcohol. There's actually a really good book called Alcohol Explained by William Porter, and that's when I was like, all of these issues, I was blaming my hormones for everything, but I didn't realize alcohol was causing my hormones to be wackadoo, right? Like you can't get away with the same things when you're older that we got away with. Like it used to not affect me either when I was
Yeah.
younger. Like I was just another day, and just go have a just normal day after drinking. But as you get older, things shift and change, and there is I think that's why they call it a progressive disease. That there's a cumulative effect. But yeah, I didn't do AA or anything like that, and that's all. My whole recovery was spiritual recovery, and that's what I teach. Is because for me, and I'm not trashing AA. If anyone listening, if you're in AA or you know someone in AA, keep doing whatever works. I'm a big whatever works person. However, it doesn't work for everyone, and I know a lot of people like me, so I know I'm not alone in this. And maybe this is you. But I tried going to AA. Well, I was actually ordered to go. I did get a DUI back in 2009, and so I had to go for a certain number of days, and I did a 3-day getaway, and my life's completely changed without alcohol. Just saying, but um, I I was just noticed like, gosh, it was depressing to me, and standing up and saying I am an alcoholic, like when you say I am blank, whatever you fill in that blank with, you're in creator mode. And that's a law of attraction thing. You are creating that reality. So I don't say I am and then anything negative, like even if I'm sick, I say I am healing. I don't say I am sick. I am healing, so I just the whole thing with talking every day, instead of changing your identity. Like I don't say I'm an alcoholic. I'm a person who used to have a bad relationship with alcohol. That's it. I no longer do. I've changed my identity. I'm no longer that person who orders red wine every night at dinner. I'm no longer that person, who struggles with or who eats. I don't eat cookies. You know what I mean? Like I just don't even get started. So that's where the abstinence thing comes in, and that's a personal thing. Not everybody needs to be abstinent, but for me, I had to come to that conclusion, and we all need to come to it on our own. Is like, is it really worth that trade-off, that risk reward thing, right? Like that 3 hours of fun, was it worth, like, and the older you get, your hangovers go longer and longer and longer. sometimes
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes it was a
it's
3-day experience.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, you got the best. You got to get back on the horse. I mean, it's the best way to get over it, but it's also the worst way to get over it in the same time.
I
Like,
got in that cycle too, right? The hair of the dog that bit you. And
yep.
what sucks about that is it really does work. And then, I didn't have that stop button. So if I had the hair of the dog in the morning, I would continue having the hair of the dog all day, and
Exactly. I mean, it's you wake up from a fun night, you're feeling a little bad, so oh, let's go get some Bloody Marys, and then from there it just continue.
yeah,
It becomes an all day thing. It becomes an all day thing, and it drains you. It drains you. I mean, I've done that on vacations, and you come back from the vacation more tired than you were when you left. Like, like so much further relaxed in vacation. Like it just made you more tired by the end of it. You're passing out in the flight home. Like you're just
that's
passing out
a
because you're so
really good
gone.
point. Really good point, because like we think, and that's kind of like alcohol was my reward at the end of the day, like, oh, I get to do this, and it was my reward. I felt like I deserved it, but it was actually creating my problem. So it's like that solution was actually the problem, and my life got so much easier without it. I slept better. When we don't get good sleep, that sleep's everything, that controls our vibration. And also alcohol is a lower vibrational substance, and there are spiritual consequences of it. There really are. It does lower your vibration. And I'm, as a law of attraction teacher, I could no longer keep it. Like I was sabotaging myself. I knew that I was lowering my vibe. And now I set myself up for success so I can be the best coach for other people. Like I don't have a bad day anymore. I mean, not saying I've never been sick, but at least it's not self-inflicted. If I feel a little down, you know what I mean? It's completely different than when it's a hangover and you're like beating yourself up for causing it, and like, oh, I said I was only going to have 2 drinks and I drank a bottle and a half or whatever it might be, which is not that hard to do. It is not that hard to do, to drink a bottle of wine, or
Oh God, no! It's. I mean, I think isn't a bottle of wine only really like 2.5 glasses?
my pours. It is my pours is only 2 glasses.
Yeah, I mean, don't
Not
get me wrong.
restaurant pours. They rip you off. They're like, here's 3 ounces for $17. You're like, hey,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I got some family members who just take that wine glass thing and screw it into the top of the bottle, and that's their glass, the whole bottle. But
Yeah.
like it's just, I mean, that's the way it goes, and it's just, I mean, that's what personally I never really was that big of wine. I like wine, but it never was my drink of choice.
Mhm.
So thank God, because I probably would have gone through bottles in a night easily, and it would have got pricey. But I don't know. It's just that's. I mean, that's why I personally always preferred the canned or version or bottle version because I don't need to finish the whole case. That was always my mentality. Is it'll be there tomorrow. I can finish it tomorrow or the next day. I don't need to finish it
They
tonight.
sell
I can have.
wine in all kinds of ways now. You can get it in a box.
I
You can get
know.
it in little mini
They're
bottles. You can get it in cans now. You can. Like, it's crazy.
the, I, these alcohol and tobacco executives. They know what they're doing because they just find what more ways to crack everybody's mentality and make them enjoy it. But and it just they know what they're doing. They introduce tobacco in so many different forms now that you can. Oh, I don't like smoking. Well, guess what? You can vape now, and it's just
Yeah.
a little bit of smoke. You're not actually inhaling. You think you're not actually inhaling the real tobacco. Oh, guess what?
But now
You are
you're
still.
inhaling a bunch of chemicals that, are toxic.
Exactly.
You had all the
Exactly.
conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theories earlier, and I do wanna bring this up because I'm gonna assume you might have a lot of them, and I'm not saying I'm not against conspiracy. I think a lot of conspiracy theories are simply spoiler alerts, like, yeah, but, um, it's ironic because I won't drink tap water either because of the fluoride, but I so many people are like, "I'm not gonna drink tap water because of all the chemicals and the fluoride," and but they're gonna drink alcohol, and ethanol is known to be a group 1 carcinogen right up there with asbestos and tobacco. Like, it is known to cause 7 different types of cancers, among other things. We know alcohol is, like, not good for our liver, our kidneys, like, all of our organs. It dysregulates your hormones, and it's really you aren't really getting the sleep that you think you are. Like, I thought I was sleeping well, but you're not really, in that the great sleep cycle, it's disrupted a lot, and so it's interesting that people just blow it off, and but the same people who won't drink tap water will drink ethanol every night, which is essentially the same stuff they make rocket fuel out of, and it's
Exactly.
yeah, it is. It causes a lot of different diseases, and that's why I mentioned that book earlier, Alcohol Explained by William Porter's, because once you read that and you know things, you can't unknow them. And that book really helped me because I mean, don't read it unless you're ready to quit. I'm going to say that because it will take the enjoyment out of it. But also, I'm someone who is like, we need to be aware of this stuff because they're marketing it to us like it's safe. They don't put these warnings on the alcohol, but anyone can Google that. It's a group 1 carcinogen. It's right up there, like I said, with tobacco and asbestos,
Yeah.
but we do it a lot of people every day. I never was at a loss for finding people to go to happy hour with me. And I didn't even, that's why I didn't know I was addicted, is because it's so normalized.
Yep.
And and talk about conspiracy theories from birth. We're shown how fun it is, and everyone's partying and laughing, but nobody shows we're only seeing the highlights. We're not seeing the lowlights. We're not seeing people with anxiety in the middle of the night and a hangover the next day, and all the big fight that happened with their spouse because they were drunk, and
I
um,
I honestly think that is why Shameless is one of the greatest shows ever made because it shows
oh yeah,
every side of it. It shows every side of addiction. It shows the effects, it shows the fun, it shows the after effects, it shows all the side effects of it. It is literally one of the most greatest shows. I mean, yeah, it's technically a fiction show because it's about a fake family in a fake world, but it's still
real
they
issue.
it's realistic. The writers wrote it to be realistic, and
Mhm.
it shows the downside of it all. I mean, the amount of people on that show that go through different addictions and come through them and have to find ways to get over them
Yep.
is just it really is one of the great shows ever because of that. And I mean, it taught me things I didn't know at my 20s when I was watching it because I'm like I never thought about that. It's just I look at it, I would watch it and be like, I never thought that might actually happen because of that. And I was young enough, thankfully, to learn lessons before I needed to learn them, but it worked.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody should watch it to some degree because it shows the upside and downside of everything, which there is with addiction. There's always an upside and a downside. I mean, you may be having fun, but there's always consequences eventually. How
Absolutely.
long and how, I mean, I believe the term is functioning alcoholic. I believe that's the term that a lot of people don't realize. That's when people don't realize that's what they are, because You're not waking up in a ditch. You're not pulling a Frank Gallagher and waking up on the side of a street somewhere. Like it's just you go to work every day. You may go to the bar after, you may go home after, have a few drinks, and then you go to work the next day. And maybe on your lunch break, you have a couple nips and a tall boy or something. I mean, and then you just go back to work, and nobody knows because nobody's sniffing your breath, nobody's checking you. As long as you're doing your job, no one's gonna say shit to you.
I'm glad
As
you
long
brought that up because that's what I was doing. I was running 2 businesses. No one would have thought that it was a problem. And that's really like something you have to decide for yourself. Like, if it's how it's affecting you. And that's the definition of an addiction. It's something that you're doing that's self-destructive or it's having a negative effect on your life, but you can't stop doing it. That's what addiction is. And you can apply it to anything. Um, like I said earlier, like even overthinking and negative thinking are addictions
oh,
because
they are. I mean,
yeah. So like we just a lot of people just don't understand. Like they hear addiction and think drugs. They don't even think alcohol sometimes, but hello, alcohol's a drug. And I wanted to go back to the haunted house because what I did there, well, first of all, what I did after that spiritually transformative experience was I started drinking alcohol a lot because I didn't feel that connection anymore. And my 18-year-old mind back then was like, well, alcohol is the closest thing to make me feel connected. Remember, I said I didn't integrate that well at all. I didn't have any guidance. I did go to like libraries and read about what happened, bookstores. That's all we had back in the day. But it
yep.
didn't help. Like I just needed that connection again because the contrast was huge from living in that 5D for 2 weeks to going back to this depressing 3D reality. That contrast was
All right.
huge.
I gotta ask just to be sure. When you say 5D, you mean fifth dimension, right?
Yes.
Okay. I
And I don't even know
know.
that's what it is. That's just like the closest thing I can call it. I was tapped into something. And
Well,
when I
that's
think about 5D all the time these days, I feel like
that,
that must have been where I was living
it.
because I was
Okay.
still in my body, right?
I wanted to make sure. I mean, and yeah, yeah, it does sound like you were in the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
I've heard people. I never heard the phrase 5D. So I'm like, I think that's what it means, but I'm like, I gotta ask to
Oh,
make
you
sure I know what I'm talking about here.
know. It's
I
being
never heard
thrown
that
around
before.
constantly. Oh, it's being thrown around constantly lately because that's what everyone's like. The big thing is we're all awakening and everyone's like, we're headed towards 5D, fifth dimensional reality for everyone, which the 5D is the same as fourth density. Fourth density and 5D are the same thing. But yeah, so I didn't have any, the integration wasn't well when I was 18. And that's when I really started drinking a lot more. And then again, when my son was 5 and I was going through that divorce, living in the haunted house, I was scared like all the time. It was very active. There was shit going on. Like there was stuff flying across the room. They were all trying to get my attention.
Oh,
This was extremely active. And I'm going to tell
I
you,
was.
I
I
drank a lot.
actually. I was going to go back to this for that reason because I wanted some because I live in a possessed house myself. I don't like the term
Okay.
haunted, but I live in a possessed house myself. Not to that level. I was going to ask like what it was like
Move.
to live in the
Did you
what
move?
was it?
Do you currently
No,
live in it?
currently living it. Yeah, it doesn't bother us because it never got to the poltergeisty level. That's the thing.
Okay.
It never got to the poltergeist level where they just kind of chill here. I guess is the term. I've
Yeah.
been told by mediums that my house is I've been told there's a lot of spirits here that are not exactly they're just travelers. They just happen to stop by because they realize there's already some
Well,
living here and they want to chill.
I get those too. I see. I'm always Yeah, I get those here, and that's what my friend Jen, she's like, I always get travelers and they'll mess with my TV. But that's different. Like I can't get away from paranormal because once you're open, it doesn't matter if you move, Jeremy, you're gonna have the same thing. Now, this house was different though with the energy vortex. And I can tell you when we woke it up because I remember. So my son, again, only 5 years old, and he was like, let's watch Ghost Hunters. And I was like, what? That was so weird. And I was like, well, no, let's not watch that. You put it on. Like he was like, and in retrospect, he was being influenced, but I didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And it was really weird, but I always loved those shows. So I'm like, okay, so we put it on, we're watching it, and they're doing all these things with the lights, like yes would be blinking twice. They always have those little uh,
Yeah.
tools,
I actually
machines that they
I
use to
I
light
actually had
up.
paranormal investigators come in this house when I first purchased it. Once we thought there was something here, we had them come in and they did all those tests and everything. And I actually communicated with the spirit to some degree. And I that was the most that was the most interesting experience I had because I actually heard one whisper in my ear, and I literally had
Yeah.
goosebumps going down my whole freaking spine. Like, when your spine actually gets like that chilling, like it's like, and your whole body starts like feeling like freezing.
Yeah.
I had it once, and I never will forget it. It was the most
That's
crazy
clairaudient. You have the gift of
mind
clairaudient.
openings. Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been told I'm an empath. I've been told
Mhm.
I haven't exactly unlocked it fully yet. Fully yet,
Mhm.
my spiritual awakening, I've been told, is not meant to happen just yet. I
Oh, okay.
many mediums say it's going to happen eventually,
You
but
don't
I don't
wanna
know what's
force
going.
it. You don't wanna force it before
Exactly,
you're ready. You don't. But so my
exactly.
son had this blanket with, and it was like had all these lights all over it. I think it was Transformers or something like that. And we had the blanket on us on the couch, and it had all these motion detector lights. So they were doing that on the show, and then something really creepy happened with the lights, and my son goes, "Ooh, that was creepy." And as soon as he said that, and he felt kind of fear, the blanket just started lighting up and going crazy. And just like, and then it, from that moment on, that blanket never stopped. Like, just, it'd be in another room, and I'd look at it, and as soon as I'd look at it, it'd start lighting up, and things like that. Like, it's supposed, before, prior to that, it would only light up if someone was walking by it. Okay. So it was an indicator of where things were. But I got rid of that blanket because it was getting way too freaky. But that's when things woke up. That's when I realized something's in this house. Before that, I didn't know. And I actually would have thought, oh, it'd be fun to live in a haunted house. Well, things got pretty freaky pretty quickly. Something I didn't know back then that I know now is the energy of fear makes it grow. So they live off of that energy. So you don't want it. And I was always afraid. I think my son was afraid, but I also had a cat and a dog. And the dog was a yellow lab that was always super happy. And after that night, when we woke it up or whatever, um, he started to only stay in one room in the house. And my cat was always just like watching light shows all the time. Like, and he wasn't like that before. So that those the animals are really good at picking up on this. Um, so, and by the time I left that house, which I think we made it like 8 months before I left, I was able to see the orbs there with my naked eye, but not initially. I couldn't. There was
Ooh,
a lady who drew energy. Like, she could, so you would give her your house address. One of my friends knew her and recommended her. She's no longer alive, but I mean, that's something I'm going to do. Like, if I move again, I'm going to hire someone like that, because you just give the address. She drew the energy. And what's interesting, she drew this vortex exactly where my cat would sit there and meow like constantly. And she also drew, and she's not seeing your house. You just give her the address. And she also
yeah.
drew the room, that there was one safe room, and that's the only room the dog would be in. He wouldn't come out. And then I had so many psychics over at the house, and they were all like, yeah, energy vortex, energy vortex. You got, oh, and that lady also drew layers and layers of angels, which showed up in my pictures, but she didn't know that. So that was pretty cool. And all these psychics were like, that basically my son's a portal, I'm the portal, and between us and the animals, it just woke up this vortex that had always been there. It wasn't new, but we woke it up. And gosh, just glasses were knocked over. I mean, they would visit me in the bathroom, and there was this one that's not cool, right? That's like how it's not a cool entity when they're in the bathroom with you trying to scare you while you're taking care of business. So there was yeah, there was this one thing that happened that was totally freaky. So I had this iPod. Remember iPods? I think they're discontinued, but it had
They
all this
are.
music, so much music. I had borrowed music on it. So like a lot of songs I didn't even know were on it. You could just transfer them. So some from friends and stuff. And on this, I'd had a treadmill there. So I'd get on the treadmill, and I'd put on my cardio music, right? I had a specific thing. And then it would kept switching over, because they're really good with manipulating electronics, right? I had all kinds of electronic stuff going on in that house constantly. So one of the things is they kept switching to two different songs. And it was always these two songs: Strawberry Fields by the Beatles, and How to Disappear Forever by Radiohead. And I didn't even know those two songs were on there, but that was every day those songs came on. So I'm like, an investigator had a psychic meeting over, like, what do these songs mean? And they said, well, there's this one guy, his name's Joseph. I can't remember last name anymore. It's a long time ago, but he actually died in your backyard. And he's one of the spirits here. And he's the one that's fucking with your dog. Like, so, cause the dog was not himself anymore and he doesn't like dogs and he was messing with your, going out of his way. That's why I moved mainly, is because, all right, that's different. You're messing with my animals. All right, screw you. And
That's
my kid, you messing
all
with
right.
my kid too.
That's that right there. That is we have chickens. We originally had them when we first moved into this house, and the back of the garage has like a separate area that the homeowner built. The person who built the house like actually put like a expansion back there for some reason or other. I don't know why, but had the chickens there. They were mysteriously dying.
Oh my gosh.
So, and the paranormal investigators, when they came and they were talking to the spirits, the spirit box kept picking up the term jungle, which they said they thought had something to do with the animals in the house. And at first, I mean, we didn't really like do anything about it. We didn't think about it. And then eventually we ended up moving them out to the shed, making the shed their home, and they stopped dying. And I later had mediums on my show tell me they communicated with Raleigh, the man who built this house, and he said like they said he's like the chickens don't belong in the house.
Wow, that's kind of evil though to kill him off. Yeah, the tree that they said, this Joseph guy, he kept showing himself in the tree in my backyard, and she gave the full name. We were able to actually find an obituary for this guy, and he did live there. And
Yep.
he ended up it's the obituary said that he got hurt from, like, he was from the tree, like a branch fell on his head. I think it was probably a suicide because the suicides aren't usually announced like that. But
Yeah.
so here's the weird connection with the music. Since I'm a little investigator and I knew that much from a medium, I went and watched the videos of both Strawberry Fields by the Beatles and How to Disappear Completely, or I think it's How to Disappear Completely or How to Disappear Forever. I think it's Completely by Radiohead. So like you got to watch those. Both of them, just like trees are the main theme. Trees, trees, trees. And I'd never seen either video until I watched it. And the Radiohead song is the creepiest video that I've ever seen in my life. And the lyrics are like really creepy and ghostly. And the Strawberry Fields has a line in it about trees. And what is it?
Trying to think. I love that song. I'm trying to think what the hell the
I
line is.
know it. It's just I'm having a brain cramp because I'm being recorded. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
No one, I think, is in my tree. Like that. But anyway, maybe people will comment that stuff. But well, so yeah, so it was just like such an intelligent spirit. I'm going to say, like, I don't really believe good or evil. I believe more like, okay, this is a disconnected soul. This soul's disconnected from who they truly are, disconnected from source, disconnected from the bliss and love and unconditional. So they're in that, either you're fear-based or you're love-based. This was a fear-based soul. And, that's why he was messing with my dog and messing with me and doing all these, not very nice things in the house. And then I'm drinking alcohol. I'm lowering my vibration. So this is stuff I didn't know way back then. I know now. And if you ask mediums, they'll tell you, like, the mediums who can actually see, like if you're in a bar, if they could actually see, they see entities, and they're all up around you when you're getting drunk, because when you black out, they take your body for a little joyride. And that's why people who are like, it's happened to me where I'm like, people like, oh man, like I said, I blacked out. I don't remember anything. They're like, what? You were walking and talking and saying, how do I know that was even me? And you're being influenced. I don't think possessed, but influenced at least. And they love to do that. They wait around until they can influence you and they're also using your energy. That's how they get their energy from you.
I forget there's a famous movie it's an older movie, but the the giant pink elephant that walks around with the guy when he's drinking, like that's kind of what it's based on, is that idea. And
Interesting.
it's actually funny because in the paranormal, well, it's not funny, but it's ironic, and because in the paranormal field, there's a lot of stories out there of people wanting to block out their spiritual abilities, and the only way they can do it is by addiction, whether it be drinking or some kind of some other kind of drug.
You're
That's
not
the only way
blocking them
they.
out. You're just connecting to lower entities. It's worse because it actually destroys your aura. It lets things in. The last thing you're doing is blocking it. You're actually allowing lower entities.
Well, I mean, but I mean, from what I've heard, mainly it's people who have spirits talk to them, like it blocks out the voices, and
There are much
it,
better
it
ways of blocking them out.
there is. I'm not. That's what I'm saying is there's 100% better ways of blocking them out, but that is, I mean, that's also why people got used to get diagnosed as schizophrenic back in the day when really they were just talking to spirits. They weren't. They weren't.
100%. Yeah, and
They
I used
weren't.
to kind of think
They
that I
weren't just
was
hearing voices.
crazy. Yeah, and that's very sad that people get diagnosed with schizophrenia when they just have a really strong connection to different dimensions and spirit realms.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's
I mean,
really sad.
it really is, and it's. I mean, I never. Luckily, I never. Well, not luckily, but I never had the connection be that strong where I felt the need to do anything like that. Like, luckily, I mean, I never felt the need to do anything like that, but I also kind of wish this connection was that strong in a way. So it's a dual-edged sword. But uh,
There's main reasons why people turn to addiction, and a lot of it's childhood trauma. I had some trauma when I was a child, and started around age 5, and you become sensitive to. I think that's when things switched for me because you become really sensitive. Like my parents were divorced, and then I had this abandonment thing, and I just had all this fear, and I was like so sensitive of everything. And when I first had my first drink, I was only 11 years old. I was on vacation with a friend of mine and her family, and they were kind of lenient, and they just like left alcohol on the kitchen counter. And I wasn't, look, I was a brat. I wasn't the best kid in the world. And we snuck alcohol, and I was like, this is the answer, because it was the first time I ever felt relaxed. Like I just always was so anxious, and I think it starts from trauma. And also, just if you're just really overly sensitive to energies, it calms you down. So that might be what you're trying to say, because it calmed down all of this. Like I didn't want to feel so much. I felt so much, and I still feel a lot, but now I'm just better at like
now you know
blocking
how to cope with it. You know how to cope with it now.
things
Yeah.
like this, like black obsidian, black tourmaline, things that you could wear. Like I wouldn't leave the house without these days, because we do, like, some people are more sensitive to energies than others. But yeah, so that's like when I first drank. I didn't start drinking like when I was 11, but that was my first drink, and I was just thinking, this is the answer. Like, and actually, when you like it that much at that young of an age, that's a red flag. That's going to be a problem later on in life. But honestly, by the time I was 14, I was partying a lot,
Yep.
with my friends.
I
So
mean, yeah.
it's normal.
I I did to some degree at that age. I mean, I didn't really have friends, so that kind of helped with it. But as I say, I
Right
really
by
didn't really
myself.
have. Ah, I had a lenient father, but put it that way. But basically, and it's funny you mentioned that because it's funny you mentioned the certain people feel energy a little more because it's when I started talking about my house being possessed a good 10 minutes ago, I started getting the chill up my spine, and I was
I
like,
was feeling it too. I was like,
I'm like,
ooh,
I'm like, okay, Raleigh knows I'm talking about him. Apparently, he apparently knows I'm talking about him because he stopped by to see what I was doing.
yeah.
It's weird because I haven't. I used to feel that all the time doing this show especially when I was doing it in the basement. When I used to record in the basement, I used to always get that feeling when I was talking about my house. I haven't had it in a long time, and today was the first time in a long time that happened. I was like, oh, it's been a while.
Yeah. The last traveler, I had a traveler that, so I didn't know what was going on, but so you know how like Netflix and like when you're trying to stream something, like it'll take a second and then it'll
Yep.
pop up, right? Well, it just kept staying there. Like I could never stream anything anymore. There was something going on with my TV. And it's only my son and I who live here in this house. We don't use enough for it to be a problem. We had plenty of um
Yeah.
whatever power
Camera.
that is.
Yeah.
That, yeah. But I called the cable I had them come over and they're check everything. They're like, this doesn't make sense, and I'm like about to cancel all my streaming things. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if it's, a ghost. So I called my friend Jen and she was like, oh yeah. She's like, you have a guy there. He overdosed at about 21 years of age and he just kind of hangs out and he uses your TV for his energy. And then he goes out and about and then comes back, uses my TV. So what we do is we invite him to go to cross over so that he doesn't stay. And because a lot of that's what spirits are when they're ghosts. It's just they're afraid to cross over for one reason or another. He was afraid because he had overdosed and he was afraid that he was going to have a hellish
Yeah.
experience or something, like because he didn't know. And so we talked him through it. He crosses over. My TV started working again and it hasn't given me a problem since. Like they use your dryer, they use your appliances, like especially your dryer. There's something to do with the static electricity. So I always
Makes
used to
sense.
have spirits down there. And that's still in this house. Like I still have activity, but understand there's spirits everywhere. Y'all are either noticing them or you're not. They're everywhere. But they are more attracted to you when you're open, for sure. I get more than the normal average person, but it's different than having a house with that energy vortex that I had before. That was not cool, right? And then we ended up moving and to a house down the street actually, and it was beautiful, nothing went wrong. Months. And then my son watched a movie called The Haunted Mansion on its own. It's a freaking Disney movie with Eddie
Eddie
Murphy.
Murphy. Classic. Classic.
Well, it freaked him out, and guess what? It started all over again, except in this house because you can. So here's the deal: he's not allowed to watch that stuff anymore because it opens up some sort of basically some sort of portal. I don't know,
See,
but he doesn't. He's 21 now. He doesn't watch that shit because he knows I'll be really pissed off.
oh, see, it does. I don't have the same affliction because I watch a lot of horror movies for my specials I do on this show, and I watch a lot of horror movies, and it doesn't have that effect. I could
It
watch
doesn't
three of
have
them and
that
go to bed
effect on
without an issue.
me either. It doesn't do it to me, but it does to him. Like he's some sort of different portal and opens it up. But it doesn't happen when I watch things either. Like I still
He's a,
watch. I love ghost hunters type shows.
oh,
And
I hate. I
you
have a
hate it?
hatred for those because I know so many paranormal investigators, and
Yeah.
those shows make paranormal investigators look like fools because they make them look like they're acting like idiots. Like none of the stuff they do in that show is what you really should be doing. There are some good ones that actually kind of follow the rules of what you're supposed to do, but Ghost, the one with Zach Baggin, whichever one that it is, like I hate that one because he is one of the
Yeah.
worst human beings ever.
What's his name?
I'm, Zach Baggin.
I don't
He
know. Maybe
he's
I don't know their names though. I can't remember. I haven't watched one for a long time, but there was also like a haunted story, like those stories. Those are the ones I really like because it made me feel less crazy. Because like, and I
oh well,
don't think I'm
the
getting the name right. It's I
the
don't.
the one the ones where it's actually like more of a documentary type thing, and they're
Yes,
explaining
yes,
those
I love
those
those.
are those are good. Those are good. I hate like the Ghost Hunters International and Ghost Hunters and all that crap because they literally just run around a house like threatening ghosts, like come on, and it's like they're not gonna. No ghost is really gonna respond to that. If something
No,
responds to that, it's not a ghost. It's something else that you should be running from
yeah, it's
because
a demon.
it's a well, yeah. I mean, what it's whatever. I mean, if that's I I've talked to a lot of people who don't believe in demons. They believe in just bad spirits, but there are other things out there, ancient things that you don't want to mess with that may be living in a house. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just.
Well,
I
yeah,
actually talked to.
I think a spirit that I'm not like a demon person either, to be honest, but I just think like that's just a label that we stick on things that are kind of more on the fear-based evil side. Like they've just like I said earlier, it's entities that have disconnected themselves from the light. That's
Oh,
all.
I mean, and there are other things that were never in the light to begin with. I mean, I've had guests in this show who've had gin experiences. I've had guests who've had experiences with. I actually had one paranormal investigator who went to a house and it was actually a minotaur spirit.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff. My friend Jen had gone through all of the stuff that was in that haunted house. It was like everything. She went through. I have it recorded somewhere, but I would have to listen to it again because it was so long ago. But all of the different weird things that were in that house, it was so many things because it was a vortex, like a portal vortex situation.
Yeah, which that's a
It
that
attracted
that's a,
everything.
that which is amazing. I mean, ooh, that's the type of stuff I want to hear documentaries about is
Yeah.
houses with a vortex like that where it's oof, that's creepy as could be, and that's I don't know if I could live in a house like that really.
I
I
wonder
wouldn't be
what
able to live in a
happened
house
to the
like that.
people who live there now. Like, I didn't say anything because, I
You
mean,
can't. You
you
really
can't.
can't because you're not going to sell it.
So I was like, "Oh, I wonder what happened." And, maybe it was only I tell myself to feel better, like maybe it was only us and
No, well,
it'd be different for them. They won't have that activity.
you and your son may have been the catalyst that really helped accelerate it, but if there's a portal there, it was always there. You may just activate it a little bit and draw things to it. But
Yeah.
it will always be there, and there will be other people that will open it as well. So
Yeah.
it's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Eventually, it'll find a forever owner who wants to that. There are people who like living in situations like that because it gives them they're connected and they can deal with it because they can either cross these spirits over, or there may be someone eventually who can close it. Maybe there's someone who close it because I mean,
That was
if you get the right,
offered to me by a psychic medium, but I didn't it was really expensive, and I was like, I don't feel I could ever trust that." Like, I would still not feel good, so moving was
I
the
mean,
option I took.
if it's one of those things where I'd want to actually like physically see it closed, like can you make it actually show and can you show it closing? Like that'd be my question right away. If someone wanted me to pay for that, I'd be like, can I physically see it? Otherwise, I'm not believing this is happening. Like it's just seeing is believing in a lot of cases, and I am
Exactly.
not seeing it. So
I
I
needed
don't know.
more, right?
Exactly. You can't just go on people's words always, especially in the paranormal field. It's there's a lot of, like in every field, there's a lot of shamsters out there that are trying to take money.
Absolutely. I've talked to so many psychics and mediums, and I know, like, I know it's real because I've had my own personal experiences. I know it's real, but there are, a lot of people who are fake. Like, I mean, and luckily these days I have discernment and I can tell the difference, but I feel so bad for people who don't have that and they end up changing their life based on something a psychic says. And I want anyone to know who's listening, this is so important. All a psychic can do is read your current energy, right? That's all they're doing. And if you don't change anything, that's what's going to happen. But you have free will, and you don't give away your power to a psychic, because you can, it doesn't matter what they say, you can shift things. That's the purpose of me going to a psychic, would be for guidance. I'm like, oh, ooh, I don't like that, so I'm going to shift things. We have free will. We can change anything that a
Uh,
psychic says, and they're only reading your current energy field. And
uh,
then it's up to you to change. Do not give your power away to a psychic. And then some of them are not even connecting with you at all, and they're not going
There,
to tell you that because it's bad for their reputation.
it's bad for the reputation. It's bad for business. And there is free will and fate. That's the thing. There's any good psychic will tell you there's free will and fate, and they're going to say, I can't. I see what will happen if you don't change something. Any good psychic will tell you that. There's I interviewed a while back, like God, a year and a half ago now. Corby Corby Mitlead. She wrote a book, The Yellow Brick Road, a guide to good versus bad psychics, and it basically is an instruction manual to tell you all the warning signs to look out for if you're dealing with one who's just trying to scam you.
Yeah.
And I can't recommend that book enough. It's anybody who is actually looking into working with a psychic on a regular basis should read that book first.
And they should also tell you, if they give you timing, they should also tell you, look, timing can be way off because every decision we make, we shift things. And then also, time is not really linear, right? Time's actually stacked, or some people
Hmm.
describe it. Yeah. So it's like, don't don't really pay attention to timing with a psychic, because, and I mean, you can use it as a little, like, maybe, but just also know that it shifts. Every decision we make shifts our personal reality. We are in control of, and that's kind of what I teach with my law of attraction. We are in control of our personal reality. I can't control somebody else's reality. I can't control my son's. I can control my own vibration. And You can't high vibe your way though out of contrast happening. Bad things are always going to happen in life. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
You anyone who's like, oh, if you high vibe, nothing bad's going to happen. That's bullshit, because stuff will still happen. That's how life is. Our pets die, our kids die. Our parents die. Hopefully our kids don't die. I I have a friend whose son died recently, and that's probably where that came from. And it's like awful, like the worst. Like I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Same. I can't imagine. I mean, growing up, I knew plenty of kids who passed way younger than they should have, freak accidents, stuff like that. But it's just,
Wow. It
and yeah,
happens.
hopefully people, your kids don't die.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. And what I was going to say is, what happens when we high vibe, when we do work and we deliberately control our vibration each day, and this is daily work. It's daily work, you guys. Just like when we go to the gym and you get that perfect body you wanted, you don't say, okay, I'm done, I've got my body. There's some maintenance you got to do every day. Every day you got to
Yep.
keep up with this stuff. So with that, experiencing contrast, experiencing the curveballs, we'll say, that life throws at you, what does change when you work on your daily vibration is your relationship with the contrast. So your reactions to the contrast. Like, it's much better when you have set your day up for success and you do things that is going to raise your vibration. You're going to handle things much better. You're going to handle these curveballs in a much better way. But if anyone tells you you can high vibe your way out of contrast, they're full of shit, to put it frankly.
And that right there is actually a good note to, I'm gonna say, leave off on, because
Yeah.
that right there is a lesson for today. But
Yep.
I want to thank you for coming on, Mary. It's been an amazing episode. I feel like we could talk for hours and just keep going, but
Definitely.
unfortunately, it is the weekend and there are other things I unfortunately have to do. But where can people find you if they want to seek your services, if they want to learn more about you? Where can they find you?
So my website is day1lifecoaching.com, DAYONE, lifecoaching.com. I don't know if are you going to post my link tree? Because my link tree has
Oh,
everything on it. Like,
I can
I'm on,
gladly put
I'm
that in
on
the
every
pot.
platform, like
I can
Instagram,
glad
TikTok, Facebook.
I can gla- I can gladly post that in the episode description. That's not a problem.
Perfect. Yeah. But day1lifecoaching.com. And something, if someone who's listening is struggling with addiction, what I can do is I could use a coupon code for your listeners. I'll use paranormal. That would make sense. Paranormal.
Yep.
And as a coupon code, if you go to my website, and also this link will be in my link tree directly to these cards, but addiction recovery with the law of attraction. These are the cards I created. It's basically a download. Like, I channeled them. And it was after I was sober and I was just received the idea to put it, and then I took action on it. That's another thing. If law of attraction, you have to take action. That's another myth, is like, you can't just sit on a meditation cushion all day thinking positive thoughts. The things aren't going to flow to you. You take action, you take inspired action. So you can get these cards there. I'll do a coupon code, $10 off for your listeners, paranormal. And I also offer a free discovery call if you're thinking, maybe I need coaching. I'm feeling stuck in life, or I want to hit these goals. I help with almost everything in life, as far as career, like, because I've started 2 businesses. I help people with career. I help people with addictions. I help people with relationships. Those are my 3 biggies, but also fitness. I help people with fitness because um, I've gotten, myself into what I believe is my optimal fitness at age 50, and I like to help others do the same. So yeah, any of those things, if you're feeling stuck in life, we can do a free call. You Zoom with me and see if coaching and what I offer is a good match for you or not. And so I do offer that, and you'll see that on my website, day1lifecoaching.com.
Well, there you go, folks. And I will, of course, post your link tree in the podcast description for all my listeners to just go and click, and make sure you use the coupon code, guys, if you're interested. And I want to thank you for coming on one more time, because it's been a damn good show. And everybody, you know where to find me by now. If you don't, shame. Manifest it, it'll come. Or it's in the outro if you don't feel like manifesting, it's in the outro. So just listen. But I will be back, I'm pretty sure, tomorrow with another episode for you guys. Maybe. Actually, no, not tomorrow. Wednesday, I think. I have a couple of my music podcast episodes in a row. So I will not be back till Wednesday for you guys, but until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all on Hump Day. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.